What I'm going to do is I'm going to start. I am recording this, so it will go up to the website. Either if you want to look at it again or if anybody else wants to. Before I start, I want to wish everybody a happy belated Easter and a happy spring. It's nice to have these meetings and have it sunny outside. Um, and I will start with there are probably more questions than I have information to give you that's new. So I'll give you my rundown of what I typically do. With regard to Prospect, as everybody I believe at this point is well aware, we entered into a settlement with Prospect and Angel Pension Group for a total of $30 million. That settlement was approved by Judge Stern in the Rhode Island Superior Court, which then allowed us to bring it to Judge Smith. We did present it to Judge Smith in a motion, not in a hearing yet, but a motion. The diocese filed a limited objection. They were not objecting to the amount or the reasonableness of the settlement. They were merely raising the issue that they raised in connection with the Prospect settlement, which was the constitutionality of the joint tortfeasor statute that was passed at the beginning of this case for this case. So because they did not object to the settlement itself, Judge Smith entered a conditional order, I'll call it, approving the settlement with a formal hearing to be held in July. So as of right now, it is docketed. I don't know the exact date. I don't know if Julie knows it offhand. And we are trying to, and Julie, correct me if I'm wrong, we're trying to figure out if similar to the Superior Court, if the federal court does like a live streaming or something like that. And I don't know if we've gotten that information yet. Is that true?
That is, as of now, I don't know if they live stream. I don't believe that they do,
I
but
don't either, but we're seeing
but
if,
I want to confirm that.
okay. So that hearing will be in July. If it can be live streamed, we'll provide you with that information so you can listen to it. I don't anticipate anything problematic from that, especially because the only party that would really object to that would be the diocese, and they already filed their papers saying that they don't object to the settlement itself. We have to file, we meaning Wistow, Sheen, and Lovely, has to file something with the court by Friday, attesting to their fees so that there can be a reasonableness hearing on those. But again, I don't see any major hurdles with that. So I'm hopeful, famous last words, that I don't see anything happening. But I am hopeful that by July, Judge Smith will formally and without much fanfare approve the settlement. And those funds will come in pursuant to the terms of that settlement and be deposited in the plan for your use and for the benefits. We have about, as of right now, I don't have the exact dollar amount in front of me, but it's a little bit over $58 million. That's in with Bank of America. Then there's another 10 million that is with Schwab, for a total of about 68 million. And then obviously, when the settlement funds come in, it'll be net of whatever the court approves for fees. If the court approves the fees that were part of the engagement with Wistow, Sheen, and Lovely, then the net amount into the plan will be approximately, it'll be between 23 and $24 million that'll come into the plan. So that'll increase us to somewhere in the vicinity of just above $90 million. Just to give you guys perspective, when we started this case in 2017, we had about $85 million. So we've been running this. In August. We will be on our 4-year anniversary on this case. And so in 4 years, we have drained it down because of benefit payments, offset by investment income and the other settlements that have come in, to about $68 million. And then, like I said, when the settlement comes in, that pushes us up to about 92. Obviously, by July, that 68 number will probably be a little bit lower. But we're looking at somewhere between, I'd say, 90 and 92 million once that settlement gets approved. As far as the diocese is concerned, they are the only defendant left in the federal lawsuit. And as of now, the only information I can give you about the diocese is that they did file that limited objection. I have not had any discussions with them beyond very, 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 very preliminary. So there hasn't been any discussion with the diocese relative to a settlement by way of the diocese. Quite frankly, I am always, as I've said to you before, I'm always interested to have a discussion. But at this point, if the number isn't something that I believe is even a good starting point, then my focus wants to be in collecting that money from Prospect and making sure that that gets done before I start focusing my attention on the diocese. If the diocese gives me a reason to start focusing on them before that, then I will. But as of right now, there hasn't been any offer made and the numbers that council has spoken to me about are not anything that would warrant me starting a discussion. So that's where we stand on the lawsuits. The receivership is moving along as it does. There's nothing of any significance happening in there. The most significant thing was the approval of the settlement. The next time we have a hearing, it'll be on just a standard report that I'll be giving to the court, which will reiterate what I just told you and maybe whatever happens between now and the filing of that report. In the other receivership with Attorney Hemmendinger, who is the special liquidating receiver, there's nothing of consequence happening there. Uh, we do, meaning myself and Worcester Sheen and Lovely, do believe that that case can be wrapped up now with the Prospect case being wrapped up, because in addition to you guys, our pension case, the largest creditor was Prospect, and that has all been resolved by way of the settlement. So as far as we are concerned, that case can probably be wound down, but that will have to be coordinated with Attorney Hemmendinger. And that is, I know I will get questions, so I'll answer those questions, obviously, but the PBGC, they continue to get information related to this case. Everything that is filed gets sent down to them, as well as to the IRS and the Department of Labor. They did ask a few months back, say maybe 2 months ago, I think it was just after our last meeting, they asked for what I'll call an updated information dump, which they ask for about every 6 to 8 months, just kind of looking at where the plan is and where the assets are and benefit payments, just the basic information about where the plan is. Aside from that, they have not taken any position with us. We have had some general discussions with them in connection with exchanging information, but they have not made any indication as to what their intention is or is not relative to this plan at this point. The only thing that I could tell you is that we did talk to them and let them know that obviously the diocese is the last defendant in this case. And their message, and I'm paraphrasing, obviously, this isn't exactly how they put it, but it is, okay, good luck. Let us know when you're done. So they're not planning, at least as of that conversation, they weren't planning on doing anything other than what they have been doing, which is watching what's happening with this case. So I don't have any new news relative to that. The only thing I can tell you is that our former governor, Governor Raimondo, as Secretary of Commerce, sits on the board of the PBGC now. So there is that. Now, of course, her focus as secretary needs to be national, not Rhode Island centric, but at least we have somebody on that board who knows in great detail what has happened to this pension plan. So to the extent that discussion needs to be had, we have another avenue now to move down to try to initiate discussions or try to get some type of clarification from that agency. But like I said, as of right now, we have nothing new to provide other than that they're paying attention, they're watching, and they're asking for us to update information. With that, that's everything I can think of as far as an update. I actually got to rehearse it this morning because I was talking to the judge about it. So I basically gave him the same rundown I just gave you guys. So if there are any questions, I will open it up. I think I muted everybody, so I don't know if you can unmute yourself. If you cannot, raise your hand, and between Julie and I'll keep scrolling back and forth. And if I see your hand raised, there is a hand raise function, I think, on in Zoom. So you could raise your hand electronically and I can answer whatever questions.
Steve,
Yes.
this is John Burgett. Can you hear me okay?
I can, John.
Okay. Are there any funds left from the funds retained originally to settle the to close the files on the hospitals?
You mean from the old entities? Like
Yes.
There are funds left. Those are being held by Attorney Hemmendinger as liquidating receiver for those entities. There's also, and he sent me an email, I believe it was the beginning of last week. It might have been the end of the week before. There's a escrow that's being held by the Rhode Island Department of Labor and Training for some legacy issue with the hospital that is still being held. It is now held for our benefit. That's about $750,000. That would be in addition to any distribution that we got from Tom's estate. But all of the funds, there are monies there, I believe, and I'd have to ask Tom for clarification, but the funds he are holding are north of $1 million. I don't know how north of $1 million, and that does not include the 750,000 I just said. The 750 would come to us, and then as the largest creditor of that estate, I think, and don't hold me to these numbers, but I think that we represent about 65% of the creditor pool. So whatever he's holding there, we would get another 65% of that as well. But that's what I was talking about when I said that we believe, meaning Wisto, Sheen, and Lovely and myself believe that it's probably time to start looking at winding that estate down and dispersing those funds, because the Prospect issue has been resolved and there is no diocesan issue with the old legacy hospitals, meaning Prospect had a claim against the old hospitals for indemnification, meaning that to the extent they were sued, the old hospitals would have to contribute money for that defense. But that went away, obviously, with the settlement. So it opened it up for that estate to now close if possible. Does that fully answer, John, or do you have a follow-up?
Well, besides those funds, are there any other funds that you anticipate coming in?
The only funds that I anticipate coming in, aside from what would come from Attorney Hemmendinger, are the funds associated with a settlement with the diocese.
Okay.
That's all I'm aware of that's out there right now. And keep in mind the pension, we've obviously got the claim against the diocese through the lawsuit. That's where those monies would be generated from, would be a settlement or full litigation of the lawsuit. And then we filed a claim. If you remember, when we settled with the old hospitals, one of the terms of the settlement, or one of the statements made in the settlement, was an acknowledgement of $125 million debt owed to the pension. So that's the genesis for our claim in that receivership, and that would be where we get paid out from.
Thank you.
Sure. Anybody else? Anybody? Let me see. Let me see if anybody on the next page is raising their hand. Oh, I see. There you go. Can you unmute?
I can't hear you.
Do you have two going?
What's going on with Tapa and Lee trying to buy Prospect?
That is, I don't know what the status of that is. Part of our settlement with Prospect was that we would not be objecting anymore, or participating in that change of effective control process. So I know that it is still going forward. I think that it was stalled for reasons related to the Attorney General and or the Department of Health. But I don't know if, I think it was because their expert had been conflicted out, and so they had to retain a new expert. But as of today, I'm not aware of anything that has happened with that. I'm sure I would have either heard about it generally, or it certainly would have been reported in the news if that were actually finalized. So as of right now, the transaction is still pending, as far as I know, in front of the regulators for approval. Go ahead. You can. I can't hear you.
How much is Prospect in the hole in Rhode Island?
I do not know. I do not know, and I will tell you this, that part of my part of the settlement with Prospect is I'm not there needs to be silence on their financial condition to the extent I know it, but luckily for me in this conversation, I do not know what their books look like at this point. I'm sure the Attorney General knows, because that's part of the Attorney General's job in reviewing the change of effective control application. But as of right now, I do not know what their financial position is.
Oh, I have another question.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, yep.
Okay, my question is, do you know of any emails that went out to people who are involved with Prospect regarding their possible demise?
I do not know of any emails that have gone out. The only emails that I'm aware of that Prospect sent out were in reaction to a response to, maybe is a better way to put it, to the settlement, where they took an ad out in the paper, and I believe they also emailed employees an email which was positively drafted as it pertained to their own impression of the settlement. But I am not aware of any emails to any Prospect employees or officials or anything like that talking about their financial condition or their operational status.
Okay,
All right.
Yep.
Sorry, I couldn't be of more help on that one. All right. Anybody? Yes, motion. I think you're off mute, motion. Nope, you're not. Let me see. Let me see. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can unmute you on the main screen here. It's not allowing me to take you off mute. It doesn't actually. I don't know why. Oh, according to this, you're off mute, motion. I don't know if you have a problem with your microphone, but you're not on mute. I did get, while we're trying to get that technical difficulty, I did, somebody did ask the ETA and the settlement date. As I said, it's in July. I believe, actually, I didn't have the exact date, but somebody did. July 20th is when it's scheduled for. Anybody else? Let me see. Julie, are you looking? Anybody? Anyone? Nobody? No other questions? Oh, Marilyn, you've got a question. There you go. I can't hear you, Marilyn. You're gonna have to, there you
There
go.
we go.
Yep.
Okay. On the last page of the document you sent out to us,
Yep.
relating up to the settlement, there is the contact for the Zoom meeting. There's the ID and the passcode is on page 17 of that document.
Oh, of the notice of the settlement?
Correct.
Okay, so it may be that the court is opening it up to the public to view through the Zoom. Usually in the Superior Court, there's a public streaming, which is done through YouTube.
Mhm.
But maybe the federal court doesn't have that, so they're just giving everybody access via Zoom.
What, right. And it is July 20th.
Okay, so if you go to that page and type in that link into Zoom, you should be able to get access to it. You probably won't be able to speak, but you'll be able to get access to it. Anybody else? Susan, are you typing or are you asking for me to unmute you? Susan Colburn. Oh, okay, okay. Anybody else? Anybody else? I don't see anybody else. If you want to ask a question and you can't, is there any paperwork that needs to be done to collect pension? I'm assuming that means to apply for benefits. There is, if you email me or Julie, we can get it. GRS is actually the actuary who deals with providing you with what the calculation of your benefits would be. I don't know if this is an early or a standard pension timeframe. What is it? Is it Kristen Stafford, Julie, over at GRS?
It is Kristen, and to whoever just asked that question, I will type my email in the response.
Okay.
So that way, whoever just asked that question can email me and I'll give him or her all the information.
Okay, it was D May 8. Not sure who D May 8 is, but if you could do that, I appreciate it. Any other questions? No, I'm just scrolling back and forth between pages, everybody. That's why I'm looking to make sure that nobody's raising their hand. If there are no other questions, that's all the information I have. If something, obviously, as I always say, if something comes up of significance that we need to talk about, or I believe that is important for you guys to hear about before, rather than just getting like a pleading or something like that, then we'll send out notice for this. The benefit of doing it via Zoom is we can do it with much less notice. You know, if I have to do the roads on the Patuxent, I'd have to like be bound by their dates. But I can send something out in quick notice if we have to talk about it. But barring that, it is likely that we will probably talk again sometime in the middle to end of May, beginning of June. Again, we'll still be about 2 months at that point away from Judge Smith approving the settlement. But it is possible that between now and then, some discussions with the diocese could commence that might be of significance, or that the PBGC will contact me in some other way. At this point, neither one of those are the case, but who knows what can happen. Every day brings something new for us. All right. So unless I'm going to give a last call, not for alcohol, but for questions. Unless I have any, no, I don't
I'll
see.
drink to that.
Thanks, John. I'm assuming that's coffee.
It's coffee added.
Okay. Coffee flavored. I gotcha. All right. Everybody have a great night. Enjoy this week. Looks like it's going to be a beautiful week. And so enjoy the weather. And I will see you guys soon, at least in the next 6-7 weeks, if not sooner.